Welcome everyone to the proseminar talks of the early Greek thinkers course. Ich bin ganz beschwingt, as we would say in German. There's a swing feel that I'm still riding on. It was really fantastic. It's incredible to see how from all walks of life people come together. Some who may have wanted to study philosophy but didn't, some who never wanted to study philosophy but somehow started to. And there's something that's sparked in them, and there's something that's sparked in me thanks to them and to the thoughts that they burst out of them, you can say. So I'm very taken, and I'm sure you will agree when you hear them. It was 2.5 hours of talks, really magnificent talks, so you'll hear them in a minute. I just mentioned this briefly. If you ever want to present, just sign up for one of the courses and you're good to go. There's always a pro seminar with every single course, so you can always also present something. And yeah, so I hope that you enjoy the talks and see you very soon.
Who might be good next? I don't know. Maybe Dennis. I think Dennis. Okay, go ahead.
Sure, okay. So first, thank you, Johannes, for taking us back to the early Greeks, and thank all the other participants for the great discussions that we've had over the last few weeks. I didn't feel bound by the abstract that I wrote, but I have written an essay in the same spirit of that abstract. So this is Parmenides and the Arché of thinking. We must return to the beginning, before the poem begins. Parmenides stands on a low ridge overlooking his home city of Elea, well lit by the overarching Mediterranean sun. The smells and sounds of the city come rolling up the hillside, carried on warm currents of soft air. The young man pauses and turns back toward the horses. After muscling their way up the long slope to this final lookout, they now graze serenely in the meadow close by, unperturbed and ready as always to carry him and his war chariot as far as his heart desires. The maiden guides are already here to meet him, lounging nearby in the dappled shade of their own creation. Looking out over the city below, cherished memories entice him to return along the familiar and well-worn downward path. This journey will surely set him in opposition to his fellow man, who will then push him aside as strange, obscure, and perhaps even dangerous. How dare he ostracize himself from the common good and abandon the people who nurtured him? But Parmenides is stronger than most and responds with courage to the compulsion of justice and right. He turns his back on the city and with fierce resolve leaps into the chariot, crying out, "Show the way, O daughters of the sun." In this decisive moment, the divine maidens immediately throw back their veils and convey him into the light of night and day. The leap is the journey, the resolute act of will that negates the everyday world of practical concerns and carries Parmenides far from the beaten track of men. In the distance, the once bright city of Elea goes dark, shrouded in an opaqueness that now reveals itself as the abode of night. This is the beginning, the negation of all-encompassing everydayness by Parmenides is an original transcendence of thought and marks the historical beginning of the Western philosophical tradition. Along with the other early Greek thinkers, Parmenides forsakes the shared beliefs and values that collectively fix the meaning of being and instead takes up a new and radical philosophical point of view. This is a difficult and bold choice. The everyday human world is never dark. It is always lit by the myriad lights of public understanding that provide and preserve human life against the roiling and destructive nature of the being it inhabits, and must therefore hold at bay. Even the goddess teaches the ways of men and speaks of the wondrous truths of the world, the resplendent works of the sun's clear torch, and the wandering deeds of the round-faced moon. For us mere mortals, there is no reason to abandon this fantastic world, and it would be foolish to do so. There is, however, an even more insidious claim or chain that binds us to this human world of everyday truths. In this realm, the question of being is already decided in advance, and we are merely the transparent appropriation of a common way of being in the world. We live gratefully in the fullness of these truths, sheltered and absolved from the difficult task of authentically confronting being for ourselves. Parmenides, on the other hand, makes the courageous choice to question being and transcend the satiated life of man. Looking down from the lofty gates of heaven, he sees the darkness of night descend on those who fail to look beyond the limits of their own truth. Shining forth in the divine light of the goddess, the first entry in the book of philosophy is written in Greek by the steady hand of Parmenides. Esti, it is, an assertion of the full positivity of being as pure and complete actuality. As such, it is the self-evidently true first principle, the first premise and the initial ground of deduction. But this noble attempt to say being and to grasp the universality of being in a single thought shows itself as an immediate, nascent, and therefore inadequate response to being. This initial existential claim of perfect being plunges Parmenides back into the world of men and the limits of language. He is forced to characterize being in terms of what it is not: uncreated, indestructible, immovable, and without end. Philosophy, it turns out, is a human affair after all. We find ourselves now, as always, at the beginning. The Greek arché to which philosophy must return and which alone can carry it forward is the possibility of the negation of being. It is a hidden and yet ever-present singular choice, and therefore the moral responsibility of thinking itself. Philosophy begins and sustains itself as an audacious act of free will. It is Parmenides who shows us the courage to be truly human and to take the leap that will transcend the fate we have created for ourselves.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Excellent. It's incredible. This is, everybody's clapping.